Hi, my name is Emily Schurter. I work for Family Services Perth-Huron and provide individual and family counseling. Each member of our team contributes specialty areas of practice to our work with residents of Huron and Perth County. I will also note that in order to maintain the privacy and confidentiality of our clients, certain details have been altered. I am also the Violence Against Women Coordinator. I provide support, advocacy, referrals, and psychotherapy for women and children who've experienced any type of violence or abuse. United Way provides financial support so that we can provide counseling to individuals in our community who would not be able to afford counseling services out of pocket. During the pandemic, this has been a crucial support for many in our community who are struggling with mental health concerns. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected mental health in so many ways. People may be isolated with someone who is abusing them. People may not have access to their usual communities and support networks. People may have lost their jobs or be at risk of losing their jobs. They may be struggling with the uncertainty of their business and its future, or they may be working somewhere every day that puts their life at risk to be able to help others. Our clients of all ages are reporting feeling the strain of the constant stress and uncertainty of this global health crisis. Youth especially are experiencing stress, anxiety, and depression about their futures as they grieve the loss of both everyday social interactions and milestone experiences like graduation, prom, and going away to post-secondary education. Jordan, an 18-year-old young woman from Perth County, reached out to us about a month into the first stay-at-home orders. She had recently ended a relationship because it had been emotionally and mentally abusive. She had been experiencing anxiety for much of her life, but was finding it had gotten much worse during the pandemic, to the extent that she started to have thoughts about hurting herself. When Jordan was talking to a friend, she suggested reaching out to Family Services Perth-Huron for their counseling services, and after some anxiety about reaching out, she called and completed an intake. After her intake, she was contacted by a counselor who provided support and understanding. Her counselor was knowledgeable about anxiety and trauma. With her counselor, she realized that she was struggling so much during the stay-at-home orders because the isolation, the stress, and the uncertainty reminded her of how she felt in her relationship where she'd experienced abuse and manipulation. Through her work, she was able to understand and process the effects of her current isolation and her past experiences, and to take back a sense of control in her life. Jordan was able to work with her counselor to improve her self-esteem, her self-confidence, and self-worth, and to better cope with isolation. She is still physically isolated, but has found that she does not have to be socially isolated, and that her life is worthwhile and important.
Hi, my name is Cody Cunningham. I work for Family Services Perth-Huron as a family counselor and as the lead contact for our youth program. I provide support, advocacy, referrals, and therapeutic counseling for children and youth living in Perth County as well as their families. Following feedback received from concerned local parents and organizations in 2019, we became aware of an increase in depression, anxiety, and suicidal thinking amongst Perth County youth. To respond to these needs, we expanded our programming targeted at young people who are struggling with strong emotions such as suicidal ideation, stress, anxiety, and depression, life changes such as difficulty accessing employment and community supports, and most recently, the social and the economic changes brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. United Way has graciously funded our youth programming so that we can provide counseling to these Perth County residents who may not otherwise be able to access effective counseling. As an organization, we have served many youth clients in the last year because of this funding, serving through our vision of strengthening our community one person and one family at a time. I'm here to share one such story that will help reveal the kinds of change that our clients have achieved through their counseling work. I will note that in order to maintain our clients' privacy and confidentiality, certain identifying details have been altered. Richard was a young man who had been struggling with low self-esteem, anxiety attacks, and outbursts of anger for several years prior to contacting Family Services Perth-Huron in late 2019 at the behest of a concerned friend who had recommended our services. He stated that the loss of his most recent relationship due to infidelity and emotional abuse had been a major factor in his anxiety worsening, and he'd largely begun to believe what he was told in that relationship, that no one would ever love him. Upon starting his counseling, he was surprised at the support that he received, and very quickly connected that his anger and his negative perception was related to his childhood experience of criticism by his parents. He noted that he was often nervous to approach new people and was having a hard time connecting to potential relationship partners. Now, this only worsened in early 2020 when COVID-19 required that he isolated himself away from his supportive friends. In the midst of these global changes, Richard resolved to focus his counseling on coping with his anger and anxiety around isolation and changing his unhelpful self-talk and processing his feelings about the abuse that he experienced in his recent relationship. His counselor helped him to understand the toll that neglect and abuse can have on a person's emotional well-being and normalized Richard's struggles with isolation and with anger. Through many sessions of emotional reflection, practicing alternative coping strategies, and connecting Richard to peers and activities that enriched his sense of confidence, Richard was able to gain greater mastery over his reactions to anger. Now, ultimately, he reported to his counselor that he'd been coping without any anxiety attacks or any anger outbursts for over 3 months. He also suggested that while he does still periodically have difficulties with isolation and the way he speaks about himself, he now feels that he is a person worthy of love.